and welcome back to video number 2 in this free training series. My name is Mark Delaney, and I sucked in relationships so you don't have to anymore. I started video 1 by saying I hope you're ready for this, for a serious conversation about your relationship with men. And since you're back for video 2, I'm going to assume you were ready, you are ready, and you want me to continue to give you the really good stuff about men and relationships. Now, as you know, this is a free program, is excerpt from my full training program. And when this series is over, I'm going to give you the opportunity to learn more about that full program. That full program consists of 6 stages of growth, and I told you 3 of them are about you. 1 is about men, and 2 are about relationships. So you see, this is really about you. And if I were talking to men, if men were ever inclined to take a program like this, you know what? I would tell them the same thing. Your whole life is about you. No matter who you are, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your situation is, it's all about you. So, in this video, I'm going to give you excerpts from 2 of the books. One book I've written called A Woman's Guide to Understanding Men, and the other, a book I'm writing that's called The Unlucky 13. 13 ways to tell a man will suck in a relationship with you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And in it, I'm going to tell you 5 things about men that will help you understand us. Why we behave the way we do, why we treat you the way we do, and why we treat women in general the way we do. And when this is done, what you do with it is all about you. But you will have knowledge to make some choices about the men you date. And you will know whether they suck and don't care, whether they suck and don't know it, or they just don't suck at all. And you'll be able to make some really good judgments about how to know which man is standing in front of you, talking to you at any given moment. The first thing that I want to tell you about men is that you may look at our behavior as being the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. You don't understand it. It makes no sense to you. I get that. But it makes perfect sense when you understand men. Once upon a time, I heard a story about a woman who wrote a book. And that book was called Everything Men Know About Women. And the book was a nice cover, and it was filled with empty pages. And it was hilarious, and it was a bestseller, and women bought it like crazy because you don't think that we men know anything about you. We don't understand you, we don't get you. But the truth is, and I say this from a perspective of relationships, we do get you. We understand you, we know you, we know how to treat you in a way that causes you to give us what we want. And when you understand the difference between treating you in a way that causes you to give us what we want versus in a way of getting you to love us, to care for us, to spend the rest of your lives with us, you understand the difference in men. So I need you to understand that the way men treat women in general is the belief that we have that this is what you want. And I know you're thinking, no, there's no way that I could want this. There's no way I want men to do this to me. I don't want them to lie to me. I don't want them to cheat on me. But you know what? The reality is when it comes to all women, so many of you accept it. So many of you take it. I mean, every man who cheats is usually cheating with a woman who knows he's cheating. So there's a percentage of women who accept that. There's a percentage of women who also want their man to cheat or is okay with it because, hey, at least I still got him when he's not cheating. I mean, there's a lot of jacked up stuff in relationships. But you need to understand, every corny line a man gives you, every time he tries to pick you up and suggests you do something, he's got this feeling that it's okay, that this is what women want because enough women have said yes to those proposals. And I know you're thinking, but not me. So I want to talk to you about how men treat you as an individual woman. You know, I have a certain persona, perception that people have of me. And over the course of my life, I've had to come to realize that they all can't be wrong. Do you know what I mean? I mean, everybody can't be wrong. I don't smile a lot in general. So people think of me as being always serious. I'm very direct and to the point. So people think, you know, I never kid around, never joke around. Sometimes, I mean, I am who I am. But after a while, how I come across was not the intention that I wanted to give off. Do you know what I mean? Well, if you understand that, what I'm telling you is that whatever it is you give off is what attracts the type of men that are normally attracted to you. Whether that's no men, whether that's dirty, low-down, dirty scoundrel dogs, whether it's good church-going folk, whatever it is, there's something about you. There's something about the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you act. The vibe that you put off attracts a certain type of man. Good or bad, better or worse, horrible or terrible, you need to understand that is something about you that does that. Now, I'm not talking about once upon a time a man who was bad approached you in the wrong way. I mean when it happens to you consistently. When you constantly get into relationships with men and find out that their intentions are not what you intended, there's something about you specifically that causes that to happen. And I need you to understand that. I need you to realize it and be prepared to start dealing with that. And you might have to change something about you. And I don't know what it is because I'm talking to you in a video. But once upon a time in my life, I attracted women who were very needy. And I don't mean needy as in constantly talk to them. I mean needy financially. They always needed help. They always needed a car. They need to do something. They need to borrow something. They need help. I need to rescue them. And what I learned was that I am a motivational speaker, a trainer, a coach, because I like to help people. So my vibe was, hey, you need help, come to me. I'll help you. Whatever you need, I'll do it for you. And that created a lot of passionate, a lot of intimate 3-month relationships. Until they no longer needed help, then they didn't need me anymore. And after a while, I figured this out and came to realize that I'd be better off to create a business where I coached women and help them than I would helping them through relationships. And as convoluted as that may sound, as jacked up as that may sound, I'm here to tell you, we all put out a vibe. And that vibe attracts people that fit that vibe, or who are attracted to that vibe. So if you are a person who wants to give everything for nothing, you're going to attract men who are going to take that. Take everything and give you nothing. If you're a woman and it is your beauty, your sexiness, your attractiveness, that's your feature that you let everyone know, you're going to attract a lot of people who want to be around a beautiful, sexy, attractive woman. But not someone that they can love. It's complex. I know. It's jacked up, even. But it's the truth. We attract that which we put out and tell the world we want. So the woman with the tight, short, low-cut blouse and the short skirt and the very, very sexy, provocative outfits is going to attract men who want to have sex with her. And they may want to have sex with her enough to even marry her. But that's not the same as they truly love her for what's in her heart. And someday when her stuff starts to sag and gravity takes hold and she's not that sexy and attractive anymore, that woman's going to have problems. And I, as a man who used to go around wanting to help every woman he came across who was in distress, eventually I ran out of resources. Eventually she doesn't need help anymore. Eventually the help just becomes a burden on me. I don't want to do it anymore. And then I'm going to have trouble with that woman. And that's what used to happen to me. Until I decided that this was the type of woman I wanted. Remember in the last video I talked about you've got to know the relationship you want. Therefore you start to put out that vibe. This is the person I'm looking for. And once you start to do that, then you become better. As far as how all men treat all women, do you remember in video 1 I said one of the challenges you have as a woman is the fact that so many women give themselves easily. And then the men you meet expect you to do the same thing. So it all goes back to, it's all about you. And I want to detour here for a second, because to a lot of people, when I say it's all about you, they see it as a bad thing. They see it as, well, why are you blaming me, Mark? Why are you blaming me? It's not my fault. I'm not blaming you. I'm giving you the power to change. I just told you a story that I attracted needy women. And if it was their fault and I was powerless to do anything about it, I'd still be with needy women. I'd be tired. I'd probably be broke. I'd probably be out of energy and resources. But I'd still have needy women knocking at my door. And so, what I'm trying to say to you, what I'm trying to get you to understand is if you don't like the type of men in your life, you have the power to change it once you understand why you're attracting those kind of men. And to me, that's liberating, because my woman, my wife, is an independent woman. She takes as much care of me as I take of her. We are equals. We're not in it because of our need. We're in it because of our love. And the same problems that I've had with needy women, if you have with men who are needy, with men who just want you physically, with men who just want to have fun and then move on, with men who want to, then you have the power to change that. And that is an awesome position to be in. I want to answer a question that I frequently get asked by women, which is, what do men want the most from women? Now, I would think that'd be pretty obvious, but some of you need to hear it, so I want to tell it to you. What they want is, or excuse me, what we want, because I'm in this category too, we want frequent, passionate sex. Now, in the book, A Woman's Guide to Understanding Men, I explain the 4 things we really want. But for the purpose of this video, I want you to make sure that you understand the one thing we want the most. Frequent, passionate sex. And frequent is defined differently by every man. Passionate is defined by an own man, but everyone knows what the sex part means. And I need to make you understand, and Sigmund Freud agrees with me, that sex is the driving force in a man's life. And everything to a certain degree that we do so that a woman will have sex with us. Now, if you remember what I just talked about why men treat women the way they do, that's a part of it. I used to always ask, or people ask me, why do men walk around with their pants hanging pretty much down around their knees? And I say, because it doesn't interfere with their ability to get a woman. That's why men do everything. Because somewhere they believe there's a woman that will still be with them despite those behaviors, in most cases. And it's usually true. But the man's desire for frequent passionate sex causes him to do all the stuff that he does. Those of us who work do so to get frequent passionate sex. Those of us who don't work do so because we can still get frequent passionate sex from someone. Those of us who have kids and walk out on them do so because we can get frequent passionate sex. Those of us who cheat, those of us who, all the stuff that we do that you like and don't like, we do because we can get frequent passionate sex. If one day womankind woke up and said, if a man does this, none of us will be with him, chances are he will stop doing that because he still wants frequent passionate sex. So ladies, again, it's all about you. Now, here's the key thing I want you to understand. This is the 3rd thing I want you to understand about men in relationships. Every man has a choice of 2 strategies to get the frequent, passionate sex he wants so much. 2 strategies. The first strategy is a committed relationship. I know you love it when you hear that. A man can choose to be with one woman, a good, well-intentioned, caring woman like yourself and get the frequent passionate sex he so desires. That's the first way. The second strategy is by all other means possible. So whether it's cheating, whether it's having 3 girlfriends, 2 wives, whether it's whatever it is, including hiring a prostitute, that's the way a man will get frequent passionate sex. What separates a man who chooses commitment from a man who chooses all the means is the key to this lesson. So when a man chooses committed relationships as his means of getting frequent passionate sex, it's because he believes this is the quickest, the easiest, and the least expensive way to go about getting it. And that man will be committed to you for life. When a man chooses all of those other ways, it's because he believes those are the quickest, easiest, and least expensive way for him to get the frequent passionate sex he so desires. So I want to illustrate it with a story. This was 10 years ago. I went to visit my brother in Atlanta, Georgia. And while there, my brother introduced me to a good friend of his who had a drop-dead gorgeous woman that he lived with. So we're all out, hanging out at night, and about 3, 4, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, he and another guy, not me, he and another guy grabbed 2 women who are basically prostitutes, and he pays them to spend the night with them. So the next day I said, you've got this, why? Why on earth would you pay when you've got a woman at home and, you know, you're a nice looking guy? Why? He says, well, Mark, in all honesty, there are 2 ways that I could be with another woman. I want to be with another woman so I could take her to the movies, take her to dinner, don't know how many times, and hope I get to have sex with her. Or I can hire a prostitute, pay her, and just know I get it. But here's the key difference, Mark. When I pay her, I don't pay her for the sex. I pay her to go away when the sex is done. So I need you to understand how men think. There are 2 ways we think on this subject. One is, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get this. The other is, I'm going to be in a relationship with one woman. I'm going to have her as often as I can. And the transition in my life came when I stopped getting it by any means possible to getting it from a committed relationship. And that is why I am the man I am today. I'm going to tell you that most men don't think on those terms about how they feel. They just know that this is how they act. What I need you to understand is that we have a problem. And that is, because of stuff that I talked to you about in the first video, because of stuff I'm going to talk about in the next video, a lot of women in a committed relationship don't want to have sex with their husband or the man that they're with. They are very, very passionate when they date, especially in the beginning. But by the time they get around to being married, you know, it's like a chore, which I talked about in the first video. This is how it all fits together. This is why I say in the first video, you got to save yourself for your husband. Because every time you go through a process of passionate sex and this, that, and the other, and then you break up, and then when you get around to being married and you really have a man, well, sex has lost its meaning. And the man who chose to be in a committed relationship with you to have frequent passionate sex now has nothing but obligation and commitment to you, but no frequent passionate sex. Which either forces him to leave you, live miserably, or go outside a relationship to get the frequent passionate sex he wants. And maybe this is not what you wanted to hear or expected to hear, but this is how it is. God had a vision, and for this reason a man shall leave his mother and father and be joined to his wife, and his wife will do the same thing, and the 2 shall be united. And they were both naked and felt no shame. That means that a man can get the frequent passionate sex he wants from his wife, the woman who loves him and accepts him and wants to please him. And he wants to be committed and fully committed to this woman. That was the original plan. But in our infinite wisdom, we kind of changed it. So now you have men who spend most of their time trolling in bars, trolling through prostitutes, cheating on their women, doing everything they can to get the frequent passionate sex because they have heard that marriage is the last place to get frequent passionate sex. And I wish I could convene a summit and get everyone together and talk this out. But the truth is, this is the problem that many women have with men in relationships. And you need to listen to this again maybe to fully understand it's not his fault, it's not your fault, it's just the way things are. Frequent passionate sex was meant to take place in marriages. But because of the experiences people have before they marry, many marriages are sexless. So men, more and more men are finding, you know what, I'm just going to have my fun out in the world and I'm not going to settle down, I'm not going to get into a commitment. Literally, every problem you have with men comes down to that choice. How do I get the frequent passionate sex I want? And when you understand that, you really begin to understand men. I want to tell you how you can get an early indication of the kind of man that you're with. And I think this is very important. This is from my upcoming book, The Unlucky 13. 13 ways to tell a man will suck in a relationship with you. I want to talk to you about your first date. You met this guy, you think he's handsome, or you're attracted to him, or you think he might be a good choice for you. I'm going to tell you can learn a lot about him on your first date. And I'm going to keep it short because I don't want this video to be too long. But if a man tries to have sex with you on the first date, I'm telling you he's going to be a problem. I'm telling you this because I was that man. And I'm going to tell you that if you are a woman looking for a long-term committed relationship, and a man tries to sleep with you on the first night, he is either a believer that that's what women are for. It's all about the sex. He believes you are all about the sex. Or he doesn't care. He just wants to have sex. It doesn't matter who, when, where, why, or how. But that's the first thing he's going for. I remember dating a woman. I called her the Inspirer because she inspired a lot of change in my life. But the first time I was alone with her, I tried to have sex with her. Well, I ultimately cheated on her. Even though she didn't give in, that first night she said, Mark, I'm just not ready. We're going to have to get to know each other better. And I accepted that. So it's not how he responds to when he tries to have sex and you say no. It's that he tried. Because it comes down to something I call self-control. So we've all heard a lot about discipline. We've all heard about, willpower. I want to give you a quick explanation of what I think those terms mean. Discipline encompasses willpower and self-control. Willpower is the ability to do something. So maybe it took some willpower to listen to this program because it's something to do. It takes willpower to get up on time and be in the place where you're supposed to be. It takes willpower to work hard. Willpower is the ability to do something. And that's cool. Everyone needs that. The man had the willpower to ask you out. Or you had the willpower to ask him out. But willpower is a good thing. It moves you forward. A lot of people say, I want a man with good morals, good character, who knows right from wrong. But what determines whether he does right or wrong isn't knowing whether it's right or wrong. It's his ability to control himself and not do it. And that's where the self-control comes in at. Every woman I've ever asked out on a date, I wanted to have sex with. Why else would I date a woman if I didn't want to have sex with her? I'm not saying sex was the only thing I wanted, but I'm saying I did want it. Remember, men, frequent passionate sex. We all want sex. That's why we date women. So, if I'm on a first date with a woman, I want to have sex with her. But if I really respect her, if I really think she could be the one for me, if I really think this is the lady who's going to be my future wife, then sex takes a secondary role, especially in the beginning. I want to get to know her. I want to find out she's the right person. I want to get to know that. And if I put all that aside to go straight for the sex on the first date, in essence, either I don't really want more than just the sex, or I don't have the self-control to stop myself from having the sex or trying to have the sex with her. And both of those are terrible for your relationship future. First off, if I just want the sex, we're not getting married anyway. Or if we do get married, we're going to have problems, so I'm just going to still try to have sex with somebody else. That is not a foundation upon which to build a relationship on. But the second thing, and this is the one I really want to talk to you about. Let's say, remember I said I sucked in relationships, but I didn't know it? And I kept having the same struggles and failures again and again and again? I said that in the introductory video. Well, the challenge was that I never had enough self-control to not do what I knew I shouldn't. And on my first date with the Inspirer, she was at my house, things were comfortable, I knew she was attracted to me, we were interested in one another, and I should have said, wow, I'm going to marry this woman, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to wait. But no, I said, man, this feels good. Oh man, I'm kissing her, oh man. And one thing led to another, and I tried to go all the way. 3 months later, I was in a situation where a woman expressed an interest, and I took her up on her offer. I, in essence, cheated on the woman who became my girlfriend. When a man, and possibly women, when we lack self-control on our first date, we just plain lack self-control. And maybe it's dealing with sex, maybe it's dealing with drugs or alcohol, maybe it's dealing with gambling, maybe it's dealing with stealing. The lack of self-control is the lack of an ability to not do what you know you shouldn't do. And as long as that's the case, you're going to have trouble with that man. Does that make sense? So when I met my wife, not only did I have the self-control not to have sex on our first date, I had the self-control not to have sex with her until we were married. So my wife knows she can trust me because I have self-control. But more importantly, now in what I do with all the people who surround me, all the women, it's great to have self-control, to not feel like I'm tempted at everyone who may smile at me or everyone who may, whatever may happen, I got the self-control to control myself because I did it with the woman I love, the woman I was attracted to when I first met her, the woman I wanted when I first met her, but I had the control to wait. Self-control is a marvelous thing for every relationship. You need to have self-control, and so does the man you date. And I will tell you that if he tries to have sex with you on the first date, you're going to have trouble with him. Don't know when, don't know how, don't know where, but I can promise you, a man who cannot wait past the first date to try to have sex with you is going to be a problem. And that's what I want to tell you about men today. So there you have it. Men treat women in accordance with the way we think you want us to treat you, whether it's women in general or you specifically. Men want frequent, passionate sex. What separates us is how we go about getting it. We either get it through committed relationships or we get it through any other means possible. And that creates the problems that we have today with marriage and infidelity and all that stuff, because the perception that men have is that frequent, passionate sex no longer exists in marriage. And then the final thing is, how do you know how your man is likely to choose? By how he treats you on the first date. If everything is let's go have sex on the first date, you're going to have problems. Not just because of the frequent, passionate sex thing, but because of a lack of self-control. And I'm telling you, on the first date, if he really thinks you're special, he should have the control to not try to have sex with you on that first date. Hey, I hope that was beneficial to you. I hope that you got something from it. And I hope, more importantly, you use what you just learned as you go through your relationship cycle with a man. In the next video, we're going to talk about relationships. And I'm going to expose relationship myths that probably cause you a lot of trouble. So, until then, my name is Mark Delaney, and I sucked in relationships, so you don't have to anymore.